With the latest unrest on the streets of the United States. So right now, crowds are starting to build for an 8th straight day of protests. More than 5,600 arrests have now been made across the US. The National Guard, Army Reserves have been deployed in 28 states. At least 125 press freedom violations have been reported. Australian news crews among those caught up in the violent scenes. And this is the scene right now in the United States. These are live pictures coming into the newsroom from various cities. We've got feeds coming from our different affiliates. It is from Minneapolis, from Houston, Los Angeles, and a number of other cities as well. And we will continue to watch those. There appears to be a protest once again out the front of Washington, D.C., which was the scene of the most dramatic violence yesterday as the arrests really did start to take hold a couple of hours from now, yesterday's time, so we will continue to watch that. But what that shows is there is no signs of the protests slowing down just yet. Yeah, these look like some of the pictures in different parts of the city as well. I'm not sure that's DC. That might be Minneapolis, that one. But wherever it is, it does appear to look very peaceful at the moment. So we will continue to watch that. Well, the man challenging Donald Trump for the United States presidency has offered Americans an alternative to his leadership. Joe Biden says he would not fan the flames of hate, implying that wasn't the case for Mr. Trump, who he says has a duty to care. The US president has continued his assault on protesters more than a week after the death of George Floyd, calling those in New York lowlives and losers who are ripping the city apart. The Democratic candidate claims Mr. Trump is consumed with his own blinding ego and exacerbating the unrest across the US.
The country is crying out for leadership. Leadership that can unite us, leadership that brings us together, leadership that can recognize pain and deep grief of communities that have had a knee on their neck for a long time. I look at the presidency as a very big job, and nobody will get it right every time. And I won't either. But I promise you this: I won't traffic in fear and division. I won't fan the flames of hate. I'll seek to heal the racial wounds that have long plagued our country, not use them for political gain.
President Trump and the First Lady have visited a shrine to John Paul II in Washington. He didn't make any comments, any public comments that is, because he's been very active on Twitter this morning after a night of more violence in the Capitol. Here's Amanda Walker with the latest.
I was down here around the same time as now, yesterday, and it was much calmer, much quieter. And today, what you can see is people gathering, people who are angry, of course, at the killing of George Floyd. But I'd say there's an extra layer to this today, and it is anger at the president, who, as far as we know, is in the White House, a stone's throw from where everybody is standing here. Now, at 6:30 p.m. yesterday, there was a peaceful protest going on here. That was forcefully cleared with tear gas, with rubber bullets, in order to make way for what was essentially a photo opportunity. Let's show you the church. This is where Donald Trump walked once these streets had been cleared. He came over here, he stood outside this historic church, which has seen so many presidents going back to Abraham Lincoln, and he stood outside holding the Bible in the air. He didn't pray, he didn't reflect. There had been a lot of discussion about whether Donald Trump was going to address the nation. He didn't do that. He took that photo opportunity, and the White House has been pushing it out on a video with its own soundtrack as a kind of heroic moment for Donald Trump, almost. Now, there's a sense that Donald Trump was kind of feeling humiliated by this idea that he was in a bunker in the White House and hadn't shown himself. So this was his opportunity to walk the streets of Washington, D.C. that had been cleared and to make his own statement. So people have come here today to continue to make their statement, their anger. They need to be heard, their anger over the death of George Floyd, but also their anger at President Trump.